Well, good morning. Welcome to Debbie's Back Porch. We're not cooking today. I'm going to do a product review, and it's a very reluctant product review. You may know that my Fred used to keep my knives sharp. He took it as his personal task to make sure I had sharp knives. Well, I can't do it. I can do it, but it hurts my hands, and my knives have gotten very dull. So I was shopping for a new ceramic knife and decided I could probably buy a good sharpener for less money. So I did, and here is how that turned out. Well, I did some research and I settled on the EverSharp 8800. See this knife? You see how dull it is? It's really dull. I see people test the sharpness of a knife with pieces of paper. You see, this won't even cut a piece of paper. And you've seen me use this knife. This is a really good knife. I've had it a long time. So I have to do something. I don't want to throw it away. I like it. So I looked, and out of the top 10 listings from a couple of different sites, this one was listed in the top 10. Not the top, but in the top 10. And at about $30, I figured that was... I could invest that to see how it worked. Now, the top ones were $200 or more. So that was not in my budget, not in my future. So I bought the one that I could find for about $30 that still had some good ratings. And this one fit the bill. So it unboxed pretty easily. And it's not too big. So I like that. I just hope it's not too loud. But it doesn't matter. If it is for $30, I can live with a little noise. Now I've got the little direction book here, and I'm going to read through it. I'm not going to make you wait while I read through it, but I'm going to read through it before I start, because I always read the directions before I start. Okay, I read those, and the first thing I want to do is to make sure that it is sturdy. So it's got little suction cups here on the bottom, and you're supposed to wet them a little bit. And you'll notice I have a glass board down here. I don't actually cut on it because that will dull your knives. I use it because I have a ceramic table countertop, and nothing will stick to that. So I tried it. That didn't work. That's not at all stable. Not going to fool with a knife with something that jumping around like that. So I need to think about this, and as I thought about it, I realized, oh, this is textured glass. And I was going to just dry it off to see if that was the problem, and as I'm rubbing on it, I realized, oh wait, I know the problem. The other side is smooth glass. So I'm just going to flip this over. And luckily, that was exactly what I needed to do. So you need a very smooth surface to hold this sturdy. If you have a marble countertop, that's going to do just great. See, that's all it took. I could move it with a hammer, but I'm not going to hit it with a hammer. It's pretty sturdy right there. So that little hurdle's out of the way. Let me get my knives, and I'm going to let you listen to this, because I think noise level is something you might be interested in. So the directions say hold it flat, hold it level, and pull it through. Whoops. Now, I've never used an electric knife sharpener. Pull it straight through. Don't put any weight on it. The weight of the knife is enough. And I'm going to pull it through. And I will tell you, if you let it go in too deeply, or you put too much pressure on it, it'll bog down the little wheel. So that's the grinding side. Now I'm going to run it through the honing side. And I'm having trouble getting quite as much level on this, and I bog it down. Actually, I bog it down several times before I get the hang of it. And they said several times. I don't know what that means. I'll just keep doing it. I will tell you too that I read some other reviews of this, and it basically said you want to take 1.5 to 2 seconds on a regular chef's knife for each pull. So not too fast, not too slow. Let's give this a try. Well, I can't get a really good angle on this. I'm not very practiced at cutting paper. So it's still pretty dull. It'll give me a little cut. I'm going to do it again. And I'm not doing time lapse on this because I think how long it takes for this to work is something you might want to know. So I'm just going to show you the whole process for this one knife. Now I will tell you that I did 3 knives, and as I got a little bit better at this, the second one was faster and the third one was even faster. But remember, we're starting with a really dull knife. I mean, really, I couldn't cut a tomato with it. It would just butcher a tomato. Well, I'm getting a little sharpness there. Cutting a little better. Let's keep going. I want to see if I can get a really good edge on this knife. Now, I didn't mention you're supposed to keep it fairly level until you get to the tip, and you dip it a little bit there to get the tip. Now this particular knife has a little bend in the tip. As I said, it's very old. The blade's gotten fairly thin, and I'm just not as careful as I should be with my knives. So I don't expect to get the tip up. And it may be my imagination, but it feels to me as if it's going through between the two wheels a little more smoothly, a little more evenly. And by the way, well, let me check this real quick. And, whoops, we're getting some cutting there. I'm getting a little edge. Now, some of the tearings, because I'm not really good at doing this. I've not practiced it. But it is getting sharper. I'm going to do it just a little bit more. And then I'm going to do the ultimate test for me, which is a tomato. But let me run this through just a little bit more, because I'm finally getting the hang of it. I do still bog it down a little bit on the honing side. Maybe because I have it at a different angle. Oh, I started to say, these angles are not adjustable. And in some of the reading I did, that's on purpose. And it's set for a certain type of sharpening, the Japanese type of sharpening. And oh yeah, I think we're just about there. It'll cut little slivers. Well, it will if I hold the paper right. Yeah, see? Now, you know, paper's not the best test because I don't eat paper. What I want to be able to do is to cut up my tomatoes and my onions without worrying about the knife slipping off because it's so dull and cutting my fingers. I'm hard enough on my hands without cutting them up with a dull knife. And you know you'll get hurt with a dull knife more quickly than you will with a sharp one. I think I'm just about ready here. I'm going to make a salad. And I'm going to start off by showing you a little of the cutting. Got one more piece of paper. Yep, I think I can live with that. So I'm going to turn this off, wipe it down. You're always supposed to wipe the knife off By the way, this has a little compartment that catches the shavings. So don't forget to open that and clean it out. So I'm wiping this knife off with a clean, damp cloth. And as I said, I don't know how old this knife is, about 40 years old. Well, that's a nice change. Cut right through it, didn't tear the skin at all. Let's see how thin I can slice this tomato. I should have put something under my cutting board. I'll do that in a second. I'm feeling pretty happy right now. Look at that. Now that's a good job. Let me do the other side. And I did 3 knives. I did the other 2 while I had the camera off. And that's cutting very cleanly. No resistance at all. I'm going to grab one of the other knives just to do a little testing here. This was my other favorite knife for many years. Yep. Good job on that one too. And pretty good tomato. And I guess it's possible that the $200 knife sharpener may do a better job. And I won't say that this is as good as Fred would have done, but it's much better than it was. And I have an idea that after it's sharpened a few times, it will get even better. So let's try an onion. Now, you know what? Let me make this a little stabler, a little more stable, because this onion's going to give me a little more resistance. Okay. Now let's do a little chopping here. That's about as good as I could hope for out of these old knives. I have an almost new Kuma that really isn't dull yet, but I'm going to try it later. I wanted to start with these 2 because I knew they were very, very dull to start with, and because I've used this knife for years and it has a lot of memories and I want to keep it in use. So I'm just chopping these up just to test the sharpness, and it gives me a really good cut. Very little resistance. I'm pretty happy. So there you go, the EverSharp, the Presto EverSharp 8800. Pretty good investment at about $30, and I'm really happy to have this. It'll save my hands. I recommend.